We now have gotten everything worked out, and joining us live, both on the air and on SuperTalk TV, we have with us Mr. Hunter Dawkins. How are you today, sir?
Dave, I'm doing well. It's good to see you, and I hope everything's going well. A little bit rainy down here, but everything's good.
You know, I was just talking to Scary Gary off the air right before the show started. Because as you know, I live in Southwest Mississippi. Originally, we were forecast to get like 3 inches of rain over these 3 days, and they keep backing it up and backing it up.
You know, to us, Dave, that's the Delta.
Yeah. I know. I'm a Yankee. I know, but they've backed that off to where it's like a half inch to an inch, maybe. The biggest amount of rain is down where you guys are and out in the Gulf, which is the last place that's experiencing a drought right now. So it's kind of missing a bit. But you guys are getting a decent little amount of rain down there, aren't you?
A decent little bit of rain, Dave, but as you're probably aware, the peninsula that we have down here is a flooding zone where it floods all the time, but it goes away once the sun comes out. So.
Yeah. Just give it 5 minutes and it just boils off just about. Now, we have a lot of stuff going on. I do want to get you to weigh in on something before we get into holiday events and things like that, because we do want to cover those. It's that time of year. We've got to get some attention to those. I'm pretty sure you noticed we had an election last week, and I'm just curious, down there, what your thoughts are from that region about the election and how things went.
Well, obviously, as you know, Dave, and I'm sure a lot of other people that have listened, I'm not exactly 100%, but Tate Reeves is the very popular man down here, and he's got a lot of business backers. Right before the election, he really started putting out some commercials on the Gulfport Harbor, having a bunch of people that are my subscribers on there. I won't mention their names just because they know who they are, and that's kind of me going against the neutral level of news profession, what I do. But there is obviously a large support of Governor Reeves down here, and that doesn't mean they're supportive of his entire positions, but what that means is that they have the feeling that things are going to work out better in favor of him than across the board. And then a lot of the local elections down here, the circuit clerk, justice court judge positions were very important, and there were some decisions made, not necessarily just a partisan, because there were on both sides, but it was a very important election, especially since in the circuit clerk's position, there are already going to be presidential ballots sending out by December, and so things have to be solidified on that measure.
You know, it's so funny that you say that, and you mentioned that Governor Reeves has a lot of support down on the Gulf Coast. They might not agree with every single part of his platform, but they still support him because of the general direction. Just as an overview, let me ask you, as a journalist, your opinion on this. We seem to have kind of lost the ability to have that kind of nuance when we're making judgment calls in politics these days. Do you think that's a fair statement?
Yes, and I think that the large portion of that comes from the national, and it kind of bleeds down to the statewide, and then to your local politics. And I think that articles are starting to become more editorialized nowadays. And of course, that's something that I am against. I'm not trying to brag or anything like that, but you can see the awards behind me. That's by me trying to get out to the community, trying to show my newspaper, even though it's a weekly, it's the only weekly in Harrison County that is of a legal permit. And the reason that I get that title is because they know how local I am and how I try to go to board meetings and things as such and representing facts rather than editorializing stories. And that's, maybe people are thinking that I'm just, trying to bite the dust and not giving my opinions, but that's not what I'm employed to do. That's not what the subscribers pay me to do. They to give the facts and to give the community events is more or less what the and I think a bunch of journalists, whether it be nationwide, statewide, or local, they've started to get that confused with, well, what since we're employed by this group, let's just opinion out on left field.
Well, we're up against a break. Just hang on through the break, if you would. We're talking with Joe Friday. Oh, wait, no, that was the other Just the Facts guy. Hunter Dawkins, publisher of the Gazebo Gazette. That's now your nickname. We'll continue with him next. Videos live on SuperTalk, Mississippi Middays. Dave Hughes here, and we are going way down to the Gulf Coast. We've got Hunter Dawkins with us. Hunter, we've got a lot of stuff going on. We talked about the election a little bit. I do want to move on because, honestly, there's about 62 things you and I could talk about right now. But I do want to focus on something else, and this is a passionate thing of mine. And you can ask the folks here in the building. I'm continuously harping on this. What I consider to be the mental health crisis in Mississippi. And I consider it to be a crisis, and I just don't think it gets the attention it deserves, that we need to do something to improve mental health care access in the state for people that need it. Would you agree with that? And what's your assessment of the situation?
Certainly 100%. There's not, of course, the athletics have really come out because this is where the mental health scenario comes in nationally. People are starting to see this because of athletes and things like that, and mention it. And of course, my career partially is in athletics. And that being said, there has been a long time problem since, my mother was in the legislature for 20 years. She was always dealing with that. And, I never really got that involved in that. But what happened was I could see later on in life, in my career in journalism took off, that there was a lot of healthcare problems and problems with jails. The more important thing down here with the Board of Supervisors in Harrison County, about a year and a half ago, there was really an issue brought up about, the mental health care unit, because a lot of those individuals and the sheriff, the outgoing sheriff, Troy Peterson, said, we can't, it's inhumane of us to hold these people in prison because the hospital is giving them to us because they don't have room, obviously with the pandemic, but also afterwards. And I think there does need to be something done with that. I'm not saying that I know the answer, but I do think that there should be some objective decision made about that.
Well, and I think you're right. And I think part of the problem is exactly what you just said. This is a complicated problem. You can't boil it down to a sound bite, so it doesn't get the attention that I think it deserves. It's something that there is no easy fix for this problem. You can't just flip a switch, throw some money at it, and just walk away and say, yep, we're good. It's a lot more complicated than that. And I think the only thing we can do right now is at least start having the conversation about it, which we're making advances in that, but we're still not where we need to be in terms of talking about it, I think.
No, and I really, Dave, to be honest with you, I really think there is a need for opening up more facilities. The Gulf Coast area has gotten ahead of the game a little bit with that, with the mental health facility in Pine Belt in Hattiesburg, but then they've opened up separate units that have been under contract down in Gulfport, and I believe there's one in Biloxi or so. I might be wrong about that, but there needs to be a place for a facility for these individuals that are going through these difficult times. They need to have somewhere they can go to.
Well, and it's so funny. We are starting to see a lot more attention on it. In the 12 o'clock hour, I've got my buddy with the Department of Public Safety, Mississippi Highway Patrol, Major Johnny Polos, who is the head of the 1034 project. And that's exactly what that project is about, is providing mental health support and emotional support to law enforcement, because that's a big thing, and that's been something. And you were talking about athletics; it's the same kind of thing. You don't talk about those kind of things. If you've got a problem, you just suck it up. How many times have we heard the expression "be a man"? Well, again, it's not that simple, and we have to get past those preconceived notions about this kind of thing before we can really have that conversation fully, I think.
Yeah, you're certainly right, Dave. And I think the real outbreak in that recently has been, 2 years ago there was the Olympic gymnast that was really good, or almost 3 years ago, with the Olympic gymnast really was the first athlete that really stepped out in making the pitch on that. Then of course you've gotten lots of other professional athletes with that same segment. But I certainly agree with you, because I know that there are difficult feelings in the law enforcement community where they're having to deal with quite a bunch, and they need to have the resources for them, instead of, whereas opposed to something might happen if they don't have those resources provided for them.
No, exactly. And I think that applies to most walks of life these days. And my question to you is, we're not going to solve this problem. You and I are not equipped to solve this problem. What we are equipped to do is discuss, how do we forward that conversation and get it more in focus and more prevalent with everyone in terms of discussing this problem, because that's where the solution will be found. How do we continue to foster and build the conversation around this?
Well, this might be a little bit of something that your viewers or yourself may not agree with, but this is where the example of healthcare and the potential expansion of Medicaid comes in. I know that's not exactly for the areas that we're talking about, but that can provide more funding for healthcare in general, and that's an avenue that I've talked about. Now, I'm not saying that it has to happen this way or that, but it needs to be just introduced. It needs to be talked about to where it can provide our state with a lot of money that we need, because we certainly get enough federal money, but we need to be able to help the entire spectrum of the communities in Mississippi.
Well, no one wants to see anyone go without health care. Having said that, as I said earlier, with the specific mental health portion of it, I don't think it's as simple as just throwing some money at it and walking away and going, well, that's fixed. There's a lot of layers to this.
I agree, but that also, with that Medicaid expansion, can get more money for jobs, for mental health jobs, for other different avenues of resources. I think a lot of people can look into. And like I said, I'm not introducing the idea that yes, it has to be, but I just want the idea suggested and looked at. So,
well, and it comes back to, even on that topic, having the conversation. Exactly. Just because you're having a conversation about something doesn't mean you agree with everything being said. That's kind of the basis of the country. We squabble. That's how we progress. We squabble on a regular basis, and we have to get back to some of that, I think, because I think that is lost. And well, the results are not going to be perfect in the long run. Everybody wants to have the conversation, but nobody wants to have a conversation all at the same time.
But Dave, let me tell you this then. One of the Mississippi legends, Morgan Freeman, made the conversation, at least from what I saw a few weeks ago, that why that we, just because we disagree, we don't hate each other. What's up with that? What's up with the social media pitch that we have to hate each other now because we disagree? I definitely don't agree with that statement. I think that we definitely should find common ground regardless of where we're at.
I mean, personally, I don't like that you're getting rain and we're not, but I'm not going to hold it against you. But that That tends to be the way things are going right now. And I think Morgan was exactly right on that. And you mentioned social media there. That is brought up all the time as the boogeyman and the cause of all the problems. It's not. It's just magnifying what has existed in humanity since we first crawled onto this planet. That's the way humans are built. It's just giving it a platform.
I agree 100%.
So, we have to get back to having the tough conversations and, working our way through them. My opinion, I know, you and I both know what one person's opinion is worth, but that's mine. Let's get on to something a little more cheerful. We're entering into the holiday season. We started the hour. I don't know if you can compete with this. Bellhaven's got the oldest outdoor singing Christmas tree in America. You guys have some events down there. I'm not sure you're that old with your events, but we're up against a break. If you can hold on one more second during the break, I'd love to get into some of the holiday events coming up down on the Gulf Coast. Hunter Dawkins on the show with us here on Middays, live in the Element Wealth Studios. We'll continue with him next. Wealth Studios, Dave Hughes here. Hunter Dawkins, publisher of the Gazebo Gazette down on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, the finest place in Mississippi that has a beach.
Always.
Would that be a fair statement? Okay.
That's a fair statement. And, Dave, I want to tell you, too, I want to say thank you for playing the early music in the morning. I love that music you guys got rolling. So
that is 100% on Rhino. He is in charge of the music and does an incredible job with it. Let me say that. He always has. Every once in a while, he throws one in there to make my eyes roll back in my head and go, what? Where did you get that from? But aside from that, he does a fantastic job. We're headed into the holiday season, and there's always a lot of events going on. Just hit some of the high points very quickly, if you could, of some of the things going on the Mississippi Gulf Coast that people can travel down and enjoy this holiday season.
Well, the first week of December, there's always the first two events, and the events that I take a very privilege to be next to are the first Friday, which this year will be December 1st, is Christmas in the Pass, the 38th annual Christmas in the Pass. They block the whole downtown. They have a parade. The fire department's leading it. There's fireworks. There's llamas. There's everything you can get down there. It's great. And the next day is the Long Beach celebration, where they have boats, literally boats designed as Christmas floats, and they Mardi Gras parade with Christmas floats right through downtown Long Beach. Those two events are great. Of course, they got the harbor lights down in the Gulfport Harbor that are consistently every day throughout Christmas. And then there's always a bunch of things happening in the Bay and happening throughout Gulfport and Biloxi. And you guys need to get down here. So sometime, yourself, Gerard. I know Gerard comes down here pretty decently. Kim and Steve, everybody needs to come on down sometime in the coast. So
now, I will say, by the way, and I do want to point out one flaw in the plan, only one of those three events you mentioned featured llamas. So I think there's room for improvement.
That's right. Christmas
not sure how you
growing.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you work llamas into the lights, but you can figure. You're a smart guy. You can figure something out. And I would like to point out, too, that you, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that you are one of our opinion contributors here on SuperTalk as well on the website, right?
That is correct. That's correct. Steve and Kim and JT and I have worked together on a great number of things, and I definitely I am able to share my opinions a little bit, and I go to some games and cover some games, and it's something good.
So, in other words, you need a nap. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, pretty much after running my newspaper. What I usually do is usually the last week of the year, I try to take a few days off and put the last edition as the year run up and things as such. But we'll see if that happens this year. So,
I'll make a note to be sure to try to book you for the show December 27th, just to interfere with things. Hunter Dawkins, I enjoyed talking to you, man. Keep up the good work, and you can check out his work at supertalk.fm as one of our opinion contributors. Enjoy yourself and pet a llama for me this Christmas, okay?
Absolutely, Dave, and hopefully God bless you that you get some rain up there. So.
Yeah, well, you could bring a bucket up our way. It wouldn't kill you. We'll split the gas cost with you. That's how desperate we are at this point. So, yeah, we'll take it. Hunter
right.
Dawkins, appreciate it, sir. Talk to you again soon.